permiso, buenas tardes. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening everywhere. Hi my friends, I'm Andres Rodriguez, English coach, sending you a big huge and I send my greetings from Ecuador, from Guayaquil. It's a privilege for me to share this program in order to contribute to the English teachers community around the world, okay? Because I know that many teachers around the world can follow us and they can hi Tanya, thanks for sending your greetings. Hello. And yes, it's a privilege, and I said before, Peru, Bolivia, and other countries that they follow us. So thanks for coming and following us in Facebook and in YouTube. We have our channel, and you can watch all the webinars that we presented before, and you can be part of this community. Okay, I want to say thank you for our sponsors. Bacano Tienda from Facebook, Andres Rodriguez English Coach, okay, and also World Language Academy, which is the academy who is sponsoring us, and he's trying to help us every time. Today we have a very interesting topic. It's about preparation, international exams preparation. So evidently, I know that we hear about TOEFL IBT, which is a famous international exam. It's an American exam, and I think that some teachers have taken the exam. They experienced that exam, and well, I cannot say that it's difficult or not, because every person has her own experience, and we experience it with challenges, or they pass the exam, or maybe they need to improve. So that's why we invited a person that can explain us and can guide us with the strategies, with all that we need to know. So Ines Torres, she's from Loja, and she can tell us about the TOEFL IBT. Welcome, Ines. Thank you so much. Inesita, you need to unmute.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great honor to be here with all of you. I want to share with you important things, important aspects about the TOEFL IBT test. So I would like to share my PowerPoint. Andresito, could you help me, please?
In this moment, you can present your PowerPoint.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, as Andres said, my name is Ines Torres and I work for ETS. I am the Associate Director. Here is my colleague, Carla Montes de Oca. We are two people that work here in Ecuador, in Latin America, with TOEFL program. Both are Associate Directors. So today I'm going to share with you about the reading section and the speaking section for the TOEFL IBT. Next Sunday, Carla is going to share with you about the writing and listening sections. So let's start. And thank you again, everybody, for being here. Okay, so let's start. My presentation will be in three parts. First, we will review the question types Then we will connect each question type with learning objectives and some tips for each type of questions. Finally, we will look at some samples of the question types, and the presentation will probably take around 60 minutes. And there will be time for the questions at the end of my talk. What is in the reading section for the TOEFL IBT test? The TOEFL IBT reading section is designed to assess how well you can read and understand the kinds of materials used in an academic environment. It includes 3 or 4 reading passages, each about 700 words long, with 10 questions per passage, and you have 54 to 72 minutes to answer all the questions in the section. The reading passages are all authentic texts that come from academic sources. The reading questions measure the ability to comprehend facts and vocabulary, the ability to make inference on the sentence level or across multiple parts of a text, and the ability to read to learn, for example, the ability to distinguish essential points of information from non-essential information. Some questions are worth more than 1 point. That raw score, the reading section, is converted to a scale score of 0 to 30. And the last question, each set is worth more than 1 point. It could be either 2 points or 3 points. If it is a summary question, it is worth 2 points. If it is a table question, it is worth 2 or 3 points. One way of understanding how reading comprehension operates is through what is called reading purposes. That is why people read texts. In the academic context, students read for various reasons, but generally the most relevant are to understand basic information, for example, the gist or specific details, and to learn from text, for example, to understand a text as a whole, so it can be summarized, or to understand which points in the text are essential and which ones are not. Students also have to make inferences about what they read. For example, from generalizations, or draw conclusions from what they have read. There are different ways of categorizing genre, but normally for academic settings, they are classified as expository, narrative, argumentative, and persuasive. Academic texts usually provide new information readers need to learn. The information is organized in different ways. And there are abstract patterns of information organization, such as description, definition, sequence, procedure, cause-effect, classification, comparison contrast, problem solution. It is important for students to become familiar with the different genres and types of information organization. I will start with basic comprehension questions. So here we have the question types, okay? Here we have basic comprehension, vocabulary questions, sentence simplification, factual, negative fact, reading to learn, pro-summary, classify, categorize, and organize questions. And for inference, we have inference, rhetorical purpose questions, and insert text questions. I will start with basic comprehension questions, the ones that assess knowledge of vocabulary, sentence structure, semantic abilities, and the ability to identify and understand important information presented in a sentence or paragraph. The first question is vocabulary question. Vocabulary questions ask you to identify the meaning of individual words and phrases as they are used in the reading passage. A word might have more than one meaning, but in the reading passage, only one of those meanings is relevant. Vocabulary that is tested actually occurs in the passage. There is not a list of words that must be tested. Usually, a word or phrase is chosen to be tested as vocabulary question because understanding that word or phrase is important to understanding a large or important parts of the passage. Every reading set includes 1 to 2 vocabulary questions. It is easy to identify vocabulary questions because there will be a word or phrase highlighted in the reading passage. You will see questions like this with phrases like this: closest in meaning to, and the author means. Now let's look samples of vocabulary question. Each question for TOEFL IBT has their own learning objective. So the learning objective of this type of question is to identify vocabulary words' meaning. Usually, a word or phrase is chosen to be tested as vocabulary question because understanding that word or phrase is important to understand a large or important part of the passage. In the first passage excerpt, in the animal world, the task of moving about is fulfilled in many ways. For some animals, locomotion is accomplished by changes in body shape. The word locomotion in the passage is closest in meaning to evolution, movement, survival, escape. Here we have that B is the correct option. Locomotion means the ability to move from place to place. In this example, it is a way of restating the phrase, the task of moving, in the preceding sentence. So the correct answer choice is letter B. In the second passage, some poisonous snake bites need to be treated immediately or the victim will suffer paralysis. In stating that the victim will suffer paralysis, the other means that the victim will lose the ability to move, become unconscious, undergo shock, feel great pain. In this example, both the word tested from the passage and the possible answers are phrases. Paralysis means the inability to move. So if the poison from a snake bite causes someone to suffer paralysis, that person will lose the ability to move. For that reason, the correct answer choice is letter A. The words that are tested are academic vocabulary words that you should know if your English is at the level of the university student. Keep in mind that there is a difference between academic vocabulary and specialized vocabulary. Academic vocabulary words can be used across many fields of study. There are the kind of words you will be tested on. Or these are the kind of words that you will be tested. Okay? Specialized vocabulary words are specific to one field. Examples. So we have here some examples, okay? For academic vocabulary words are words that are expected you know. Example, arbitrary, capacity, fluctuate. And here we have the specialized vocabulary. So here we have cadence, monopolies for business, desertification, and cetaceans for biology. If you find a word like this with a specialized vocabulary, you are going to have, at the end of the reading, you are going to have the meaning of the word. Now let's look at vocabulary question sample. This one is from a reading passage about meteorite impacts. Here is an excerpt from the passage with the vocabulary word highlighted as a sample question, which asks the meaning of the word pose. I am going to ask you to please read the excerpt on your right and try to find the correct answer for the closest meaning of the word pose. You can write your responses on the chat box. Thank you. I have here present, 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 and yes, the correct answer is present. Here are some skill building tips for you. So you have to remember that the question is not just asking the meaning of the word, it is asking for the meaning as it is used in the passage. Don't choose an answer just because it can be a correct meaning of the word. Understand which meaning the author is using in the passage. Reread the sentence in the passage, substituting the words or phrases you have chosen, and confirm that the sentence still makes sense in the context of whole passage. This was question number 1 for the reading. And we are just talking about basic comprehension questions, okay? Number 2, sentence simplification questions. These questions ask you to identify a sentence that has essentially the same meaning as the sentence from the reading passage. The correct answer choice contains the main ideas from the sentence in the passage, but may leave out minor or unimportant details. It should restate the most important information in a simple way. In this type of question, you are asked to choose a sentence that has the same essential meaning as the sentence that occur in the passage. Not every reading set includes a sentence simplification question. There is never more than one in a set. Sentence simplification questions are easy to recognize because they are worded in this way. Which of the sentence below best expresses the essential information in the following sentence? And incorrect changes the meaning in incorrect choices, change the meaning in important ways or leave out essential information. The highlighted sentence will have both essential and non essential information. Your job is to pick the answer choice that best includes the essential information and leaves out not essential information. Answering this type of question will require you to understand the relationship between pieces of information in the sentence. Often there is an important cause and effect. There's an important cause and effect relationship, or there may be a conclusion based on some evidence. So look for those same ideas in the answer choices. Something important to build your reading skills, which will also help you answer sentence simplification questions, is to look at complex sentences or paragraphs and separate the main ideas from less important information. Non-essential information can be things like samples or text in parentheses or very specific information like numbers or dates. So separate the main ideas from less important information. I would like you to look at this sample of sentence simplification question. The learning objective of this type of question is to recognize and create accurate paraphrases of information from a text. To answer sentence simplification questions, choose the statement that best expresses the highlighting area of the passage and that does not change its meaning in any way or leave out important information. In this example, your first reaction might be to look at the complexity of the whole passage. Please don't do that. Remember that you need to remove a great portion of information and focus principally on the highlighting section, which is, since love of physics, not some arbitrary decision, have determined the general form of applied arts objects. They follow basic patterns so much so that functional forms can vary only within certain limits. You might still be thinking that even this sentence is difficult and complex, as you most likely know nothing about applied art objects and functional forms. Don't worry, look at the sentence again, and you will see that there is an affirmation and negation going on here. Namely, it is being affirmed that it's the laws of physics that have determined the general form of applied art objects. So I would like you to read this example question and try to find the answer. Please. Once you have the answer, you can write on the chat box. Okay. Something that is important also that you know is that as the learning objective is recognize and create accurate paraphrases, you have to look which of these says the same thing of the highlighting sentence. In other words, is you have to paraphrase this. Okay? When you have the answers, just write on the chat box. Thank you very much. Okay, very good. Karen, could you tell us why did you choose letter A, please?
Hello. I couldn't read the whole thing, but as this is an example of, so I read the first part to know what the reading is about, and then I just read the highlighted sentence, and then I read the four options, and since it said that there is a part when they said not some arbitrary decision, so that it gives me like, okay, so this doesn't have to follow in everything. So and the best option for me was literal A, because it said that cannot vary much. And then in the second and after at the last part of this reading, so it's just like match the literal A. So that's why, because the second one is that the function is a term. So, but in the sentence it said that is not some arbitrary, and even it doesn't follow only follow basic patterns, not that they follow all of them. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Karen. Excellent. Yes, the option is A. Okay, because only A makes the same point as the highlighted sentence and includes all the essential meaning. If we see letter B, for example, also changes the meaning. It says that the function of applied orders are determined by physical laws, and the highlighted sentence says that the form of objects is determined by physical laws, but the function is by people. So that's not correct. Let's see, letter C. Leaves out an important idea from the highlighted sentence. Like the highlighted sentence, it says that the form of functional objects is not arbitrary, but that's not say that it is physical laws that determine basic form. So here we have the last one, that is D, changes the meaning of the sentence to its opposite. So it says that the form of functional objects is arbitrary when the highlighted sentence says that the forms of functional objects are never arbitrary. So this is question number 2 for basic comprehension in the reading section for the TOEFL IBT. Here we have some skill building tips. So number 1, make sure you understand both ways a choice can be incorrect. It misinterprets information in the highlighted sentence. It leaves out something important from the highlighted sentence. Make sure your answer does not contradict the main argument of the paragraph in which the sentence occurs or the passage as a whole. Let's go to question number 3. This question is factual information question. This question asks you to identify specific information that is typically mentioned only in a part of the passage. Each reading set includes 2 to 3 questions or factual information questions. These questions ask you to identify factual information that is explicitly stated in the passage. They can focus on facts, details, definitions, or other important information presented by the author. Factual information questions are often phrased in one of these ways. According to the paragraph, or paragraph X answers which of the following? Now let's look at factual information question in a detail, okay? The learning objective of this type of question is to identify facts and important information in a passage. The question asks you to identify specific information that is typically mentioned only in a part of the passage. They generally don't ask about general themes that the passage as a whole discusses. Often, the relevant information is in 1 or 2 sentences. So, to answer this type of question, please take into consideration the following suggestions. You may need to refer back to the passage in order to know what exactly is said about the subject of the question. Eliminate choices that present information that is contradicted in the passage. Don't select as an answer just because it is mentioned in the passage. Your choice should answer the specific question that was asked. So here we have an example of factual information question. Again, I need your help. So I would like you to read this example question and try to find the answer. Thank you, Arsenio. For your comment. A, B, 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 B. Very good. So, Marisol, could you tell us why did you choose letter B, please? Or Lisa, or Sonia, or Tanya. Just let me know why.
Hello, good
Thank you very
morning.
much.
Hello, Tanya. Thank you.
Well, I chose B because, well, if first of all, I read the question and the options, and then I look for keywords in the question, and then I look for that keyword in the passage, and then I got the information. That way, I could be able to choose the correct option because, first of all, I read the options, and then I look for that information in that passage.
Thank you very much, Tanya. So we have B. B is the correct answer because it correctly identifies the reason the passage gives for the change. Sculptures develop a way to strengthen the statue from the inside, making the cannibals physically unnecessary. Perfectly correct. Thank you very much, Tanya. So you see that A says that the sculptures start putting cannibals under the raised legs of horses in statues because they learn how to make the statue wait and not require support for the leg. The passage that's no mention making the statue weight less. It says that sculptures learn a better way to support the weight. So in the same way, we have letter C, says that the change occur only because people taste changed, meaning the cannibals were never structurally necessary. That directly contradicts the passage. And then we have letter D, says that cannibals weakened the structure of the statues. That choice also contradicts the passage. So the correct answer choice is letter B. Here we have some tips. You may need to refer back to the passage in order to know what exactly is said about the subject of the question. Since the question may be about a detail, you may not recall the detail from your first reading of the passage. Eliminate choices that present information that is contradicted in the passage. Don't select an answer just because it is mentioned in the passage. Your choice should answer the specific question that was asked. That was question number 3. And then we have negative factual information questions, are similar to factual information questions, except that instead of only one answer being true, 3 of the 4 answers are true, and you have to determine which is false. Each reading set includes 2 negative factual questions. These questions ask you to verify what information is true and what information is not true or not included in the passage, based on information that is explicitly stated in the passage. To answer this kind of question, first locate the relevant information in the passage, then verify that 3 of the 4 answer choices are true and that the remaining choice is false. Remember, for this type of question, the correct answer is one that is not true. How to recognize this kind of questions? You can recognize negative factual questions because the word not, or in the word here we have The word not and the word except appears in the question in capital letters. According to the passage, which of the following is not true? Or the author mentions all of the following except. Now, let's look at an example of negative factor questions. What is the learning objective? As you can see here, we have 3 learning objectives. The learning objectives of this type of questions are: identify key facts and important information in a passage, recognize and create accurate paraphrases of information from a text, recognize statements that are not accurate paraphrases of information from a text. In this case of this question type, you need to understand that the right answer will be one of 2 things. Either it will directly contradict what has come in the passage, or it will be something that is not mentioned at all in the passage. This type of question requires a quick scan of the paragraph, and the answers might be spread throughout the passage. In this example, we can see that options B, C, and D are not correct, and the right answer is A. So this is just an example of this factual information question. And I have here for you this example. So let's look this example of negative factual information question. You know that it's a negative fact information question because the first thing that we have to see is here, because the word except in capital letters. So 3 of the choices are going to match information in the paragraph, and only one will not. So let's see how many correct choices we can find by scanning for keywords that appear in the answer, like dust, sunlight, cold, dark, elements, crust, and nitric acid. We may also need to look for some synonyms of these words. So I am going to kindly ask you to please read the excerpt on your right and try to find the correct answer, taking into consideration the tips that I just gave you. Okay. Okay. Piedad, please help us. Piedacita, help us. Why? Why did you choose letter C for this question? Let me see who else. Karen. Oh.
I was asking. I was going to ask. Okay, first of all, have you said that we have is a negative thing that we don't have to? It doesn't. I mean, it the sentence is much not to be in the paragraph, right? So
Mhm.
even though the letter D said that large quantity of nitric acid were produced, but here and then there is a large quantities is the same like vast quantities. So and then I thought, okay, so this is the same thing, it's just paraphrase. So but even though it was produced, okay, so and then the AV is already mentioned. So I determined that letter C is the sentence that it is not in the paragraph, even though it matches with with the sentence D. That's why I chose letter C because it's
Okay.
not in the paragraph.
Thank you so much. Okay,
Yeah.
you are right. Thank you. So if we scan the paragraph for some text about dust and blocked sunlight that corresponds to choice A, we find that it's a match. But choice B, here we can see that choice B is where it talks about the cold and darkness. Choice D, we found that information here where it talks about nitric acid. So letter C is the correct one, as you said. That is the one. There is nothing in the paragraph that talks about new elements of the Earth crust. So that is the correct answer. Thank you very much. Okay. So here we have some skill building tips. Usually, a negative factual question requires you to check more of the passage than a factual information question. The three choices that are mentioned in the passage may be spread across a paragraph or several paragraphs. In negative factual information questions, the correct answer either directly contradicts one or more statements in the passage or is not mentioned in the passage at all. And after you finish a negative factual information question, check your answer to make sure you have accurately understood the task. These questions were just for basic comprehension questions. Now we are going to go to the second block of reading questions for the TOEFL IBT. These are reading to learn questions. Reading to learn requires the ability to manage the following reading relationships. Understand the ideas in a text and connect them into logical and complete summary, theory, hypothesis, or point of view. Understand relationships between ideas. This can include one or more of the following kind of relationships: compare and contrast, cause and effect, agree or disagree, sequency, problem solution. And there are two types of learning questions: summary question and fill in a table question, which means classify, categorize, and organize information. Let's see what's summary question. These questions measure your ability to understand and recognize the major ideas and relative importance of information in the passage. You will be asked to select the major ideas in the passage by distinguishing them from minor ideas or ideas that are not in the passage. The correct answer choice will synthesize major ideas in the passage because the correct answer represents a synthesis of the ideas. It will not match any particular sentence from the passage. To select the correct answer, you will need to create a mental framework to organize and remember major ideas and other important information. And this understanding relative importance of information in a passage is critically to this ability. In pro-summary questions, there are 6 answer choices, and you will need to select 3 correct choices that express the most important ideas in the passage. And the incorrect answer choices will misrepresent information in the passage or will discuss minor points. So these are the 3 that you don't have to choose, okay? Okay, I have here, dear partners, I am sharing with you the document. Okay. Okay, so here we have, this is the summary, the pro-summary question. So you have to focus your attention in major ideas and relative importance of information. Okay. So here is in the real TOEFL IBT test, you will need drag and drop your answers into a box. This is the box, okay? Pro-summary questions are worth 2 points toward your raw score. You get 2 points if you choose all 3 correct answers. You get 1 point if you choose 2 correct answers. And you get 0 points for 1 or no correct answers. Now let's look at an example of some pro-summary question. The learning objective of this type of question, or the learning objectives of this type of question are: recognize the organization and purpose of a passage, create a mental framework such as a category chart or an outline summary for organizing major points and important details, distinguish between major and minor points of information, recognize minor, less important ideas that don't belong in summary or category chart, recognize and create accurate paraphrases of information from a text. The pro-summary questions are designed to show that you recognize the major ideas in relative important information in a reading passage. So here you have the options. As you can see, I have the correct ones here, the 6 options, or maybe you can have 7 options, and then you have to choose the 3 that are going to summarize the passage, or the most important information of this passage. Here also you have what I just said about the scoring. What is important here for summary, pro-summary questions? You can work to improve your reading skills by creating your own outlines or charts when you read a passage. Choose a chart format that is helpful for you, like the one I have here in the examples. As you read, you can use the spider map. You can look for the ideas and examples. That is the Spider-Man, that is a graphic organizer that can be used to organize your ideas, aspects, thoughts, normally of a single topic or theme, okay? And chart 2 is a graphic organizer too that will help you to identify main ideas and supporting details. Now we are going to look at an example of pro-summary question. Okay, so here we have the just a moment. Okay, so here you have the reading. So let's look this example and read, please. I would like you to read this example question and try to find the answer. You can take notes. You can use the charts that I just show you, or maybe you have other methods to take notes. Use it, the one that is most convenient for you. Please take notes of the relevant information to be used in the chart. You have for 3 minutes to read this, okay? I have here the timer and okay. Okay. Once we read, you have the question here. Here is the question. An introductory sentence that brief summarize of the passage is provided below. Complete the summary by selecting the 3 answer choices that express the most important ideas in the passage. Some sentences don't belong in the summary because they express ideas that are not presented in the passage or minor ideas in the passage. This question is worth 2 points. you can write your choices in the chat box. Anita says 1, 3, and 5. Okay, Daniela. 4, 5, and 6. Piedad. 1, 4, 5. Karen. 1, 2, 5. Okay. The correct choices are as you can see here, we have 4, 5, and 6. Answer number 1 isn't supported by any of the information in the passage. So we know that this one is not correct. So scientists have believed for centuries that meteorite activity influenced evolution on Earth. It's not here. Answer 2 is factually correct statement, but identifying the specific date when something happened generally doesn't qualify as one of the most important ideas. So this one is not correct. For answer 3, the reference to crater Tycho is used to give a sense of size of the crater that struck the Yucatan. However, the topic of meteorite activity on the moon is not focused of this passage. Answer 4 combines several facts that together provide summary of an important idea from the passage. This is supported by the information given in paragraph 2 and paragraph 3. Answer 5 is about the effects of meteorite impacts, which is an important idea of the passage. We can see this in paragraph 4, where it talks about the mass destruction from the cold, darkness, and fires. Answer 6 is another important idea, what is stated in a similar sentence in paragraph 5, what is a catastrophe for a group of living things, however, may create opportunities for another group. So for this question, answers 4, 5, and 6 are the correct choices. And here, Daniela Armijos, she had 4, 5, and 6. Okay. That is for summary question. Then we have another question for reading to learn, which is fill in a table question. The fill in a table question are similar to pro-summary questions, except that instead of choosing 3 most important ideas, you will need to drag and drop your answers into 2 or 3 categories, like this. Now let's look at an example of fill in a table question. As you can see here, we have the learning objectives, recognize the organization and purpose of a passage, create a mental framework such as a category chart or an outline for organizing major points and important details, distinguish between major and minor points of information, recognize the minor, less important ideas that don't belong in a summary or category chart, and recognize and create accurate paraphrases of information from a text. So here what you have to do. You are going to have the reading, and the reading is, in this case, for example, is type of art. You are going to have 2 themes or two topics in this just general topic. So you have to look for both. So your job is to complete the table by clicking on correct answer choices and dragging them to their correct location in the table. The correct answer choices are usually ideas that would be included in a slightly more detailed outline. Minor details and examples are generally not included in such an outline because they are used only to support more important higher level themes. Incorrect answers may include information about the topic that is not mentioned in the passage or that is not directly relevant to the classification categories in the table. Okay, so here we have how this question is going to be scored. For 0, 1, or 2 correct answers, test takers receive no credit. For 3 correct answers, they will receive 1 point. For 4 correct answers, they will receive 2 points. And for all 5 correct answers, they will receive 3 points. So here we have this. Again, we have here the filling a table question, how it's going to be in your test. So you have to choose for each one of the subtopics that you have in the general topic. Again, it is important for you to use the tables, spider map, or the graphic organizers, the spider map and main idea chart. This is going to help you to get the most important ideas and examples, or they are going to help also to look for the main ideas and supporting details. So we are going to answer this question. Okay, we are going to answer this question, the table question. So we are going to read this reading, and then we are going to look for the choices that we are going to use here in this chart. Okay, so again, you are going to have 3 minutes to read from now and look for the most important ideas to complete your chart. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, okay? Okay, 5 minutes from now. I am trying to make it big, but I don't know how. Sorry. Mauricio, sorry. No worries. Okay, next time I'm going to bring the readings and I'm going to send them to you so you can open your computers. Okay. Okay. So, just a moment. Okay. Oops. So here we have, okay. We are going to use AA for applied arts and FA for fine arts. So just try to choose here in the choices what are for apply, 3 for applied arts and 2 for fine arts. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Thank you for everything. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Tanya. Okay. So here we have the responses for this. Okay. Look. We have for fine arts, for applied arts, for fine arts, for applied arts, for fine arts. The idea is that you know what do you have to do in each question, okay? And this is the second question in the reading to learn questions for the reading section in TOEFL IBT. We are going to see the last set of questions, which are the inference questions for the reading section in the TOEFL IBT. We have 2 questions here, inference questions and rhetorical purpose questions. Let's start with number 1. These questions, inference questions, these questions measure your ability to comprehend an argument or an idea that is strongly implied but not explicitly stated in the text. For example, if an effect is cited in the passage, an inference question might ask about its cause. If a comparison is made, an inference question might ask for the basis of the comparison. You should think about not only the explicit meaning of the author's word, but also the logical implications of those words. How to recognize this type of questions? We will, these type of questions are easy to recognize because the words infer, suggest, and implies are always in the question. Which of the following can be inferred about X? The author of the paragraph implies that X. Paragraph X suggests which of the following about Y? So now let's look at an example of inference question. The learning objective of this question is make inferences from generalizations and draw conclusions based on what is implied in the passage. To answer an inference type question, choose the best explanation of what the author wants to convey in the passage. Look at the question carefully and consider what is really being requested. The first thing to do is to understand the question, which of the following can be inferred. It is asking you to infer from the passage. Remember that we have said that the words infer, suggest, or imply are all words related to what you can logically be understood and conclude from the information you have just read. So here we have an example, okay? Here we have the example. This is very short, so I'm going to ask you to read this small passage and try to see which can be inferred from paragraph 1 about candles before the 19th century. We are almost finishing the reading section. So if you have an answer, you can write in the chat box. Okay. Okay, Karen, thank you. Okay, so look, here we have, as Karen says, C. Karen, you are right. So here we have the answer choice is C. It's an inference about candles we can make from this passage. In the case of A and B, can be eliminated because they explicitly contradict the passage. The usual smoke and rancid odor. C is the one that we have to choose, okay? That is the correct answer, as I told you. So now we are going to see some skills, some skill building tips. Make sure your answer does not contradict the main idea of the passage. Don't choose an answer just because it seems important or true. The correct answer must be inferable from the passage. You should be able to defend your choice by pointing to explicitly stated information in the passage that leads to inference you have selected. And then we have the rhetorical purpose questions, okay? In rhetorical questions, you are asked why the author has presented a particular piece of information in a particular place and also in a particular way. In other words, what information does the author present and why does he present the information in that way? This type of question allows you to discover the author's perspective in a deep. This kind of questions requires that you concentrate on logical links between the author's ideas, explanations, and perspectives. How to recognize rhetorical purpose questions? They are easy to recognize because the word is always why. Why does the author mention this? We always are going to have this question. Now let's look at an example of rhetorical purpose question. The learning objectives of this type of question are: recognize and create accurate paraphrases of information from a text and make inferences from generalizations and draw conclusions based on what is implied in a passage. To answer rhetorical purpose questions, focus on logical links between the sentences and the paragraphs. Answer the questions of what information the author is presented in the passage and why he is presented it. Know the definitions of these words or phrases, which are often used to describe different kinds of rhetorical purpose. Definition, example, to illustrate, to explain, to contrast, to refute, to note, to criticize, to support, to give an example, to disagree, to introduce. So now, if we have the chance, we can read the excerpt and we can read the question. So here we have, in this case, the author introduced this sentence not to support, introduced this sentence here, not to support, but to clearly give an example of a particular kind of applied art that is not constrained by the laws of physics. So here we have the answer, okay? So the thing that you need to know is why the author introduces this sentence. Why does the author introduce this claim in this case? Because he wanted to give an example. This is why I said that you have to keep in mind important words like definitions, examples, to illustrate, to explain, to contrast, to refute, to note, to support, to give an example, to introduce. Here we have the tips. Know the definitions of these words or phrases which are often used to describe different kinds of rhetorical purpose questions. To illustrate, to explain, to contrast, to refute, to note, to criticize. Rhetorical purpose questions usually don't ask about the overall organization of the reading passage. Instead, they typically focus on logical links between sentences and paragraphs. And then we have the last question for TOEFL IBT in the reading section, which is insert questions. In this type of questions, you are giving a new sentence and are asked where in the passage it would best fit. You need to understand the logic of the passage as well as the grammatical connections like pronoun references between sentences. Every set includes an insert text question. There is never more than one in a set. Insert test questions are easy to identify when taking the TOEFL IBT test because in the passage you will see 4 blank squares. Sometimes all 4 squares appear in one paragraph. You are then asked this question. Look at the 4 squares that indicate where the following sentence could be added to the passage. What is your job here? Your job is to click on one of the squares and insert the sentence in the text. The following is an example of how this question displays on the TOEFL IBT test. Okay. So here we have an example. Now let's look at an example of this insert question. The learning objectives for this type of questions are: recognize the logical sequence of written material, make inferences from generalizations and draw conclusions based on what is implied in a passage. This question type tests your understanding of logic in the passage. It also tests your ability to understand the grammatical connections from one sentence to another. You can see here we have an example. So in order to respond this question, you have to read this, and then you have to insert in one of these squares. So as this is the last question, and this is very, very short passage, I'm going to ask you, please, to try to insert this sentence in one of these squares. But you have to take care. You don't have to change the meaning of the passage. It has to be exactly in one square, okay? Let's go. Let's do it. If you have the answer, just write on the chat box, please. Okay, in this question type, we have that the answer is, okay, I have an answer here, let me see. Okay, Sonia says 3. Okay, we have here that the correct answer is square 1. If you read carefully, scholars offer 3 related but different opinions about these puzzles. All of the 3 have strengths and weakness, but none. Okay, if you read, you are going to realize that it's a square number 1. So try, when you practice for TOEFL IBT, for this question for TOEFL IBT, please place in each one of them and read again so you can see in which space is which space is the correct one. Let me see here. I have. Okay, no worries, Sonia. So this is just practice. So this was all about the questions for TOEFL IBT. Here I have some skill building tips. When taking the TOEFL IBT test, try the sentence in each of the places indicated by the squares. You can place and replace the sentence as many times as you want. Look at the structure of the sentence you are inserting. Pay special attention to connecting words. They can provide important information about where the sentence should be placed. Frequently use connecting words. On the other hand, for example, on the contrary, as a result, further, furthermore, therefore, in other words, similarly, in contrast, finally, and make sure that the inserted sentence connects logically to both the sentence before it and the sentence after it, and that any pronouns are, agree the noun they refer to. So here, this is all about the listening, the reading section for the TOEFL IBT. And now in this half an hour, I'm going to share important information about the speaking section for the TOEFL IBT. Just I'm going to see my PowerPoint, please, just a moment. So now we are going to change a little bit. Here we are going to talk about the speaking section for the TOEFL IBT. So what is in the speaking section for the TOEFL IBT? The speaking section is designed to measure your ability to speak English effectively in academic settings. In this section, you will be asked to speak on a variety of topics that draw on personal experience, campus-based situations, and academic-type content material. The TOEFL IBT speaking section is measure your ability to speak in academic settings. It has four tasks. One that is independent, the independent task is the paired choice task, is an independent speaking question about a topic that is familiar to the speaker. Test takers are asked to make and defend a personal choice between two contrasting options. And its responses are based on personal experience. Then we have three integrated tasks. Two reading, listening, speaking tasks, one academic and one campus-based, and one listening, speaking task, one academic, and the responses are based on what was read and what was heard. Let's see each one of the questions, of the four questions. Question number one is the independent question. Independent speaking task paired choice consists of a single question task that asks the test taker to make and defend a personal choice between two contrasting behaviors or courses of action, assesses the test taker ability to express a personal preference from a given pair, elaborate on that preference and support it with reasons, and assesses the test taker overall intelligibility and range of grammatical and lexical use when discussing a subject that does not require knowledge of academic content. The time that we have for this kind of question is preparation time, 15 seconds, and response time, 45 45 seconds. Now here are some tips for how to approach this kind of speaking questions. Number one, use the preparation time to organize your thoughts and maybe jot down some notes. Don't try to write a full response because you won't have time, and the readers scoring your response want to hear you speaking, not reading, and they can tell the difference. Number two, don't memorize responses before the test, especially ones that you get from the internet or from test preparation instructors who said that it is a good idea. It's not, and it will lower your score. It's very easy for ETS raters to identify memorized responses because they sound different and the content is different from responses that are more naturally and spontaneous. Number three, it is not necessary to organize your response into an introduction, middle, and conclusion like you would with a writing essay or a written essay. Just speak naturally and use common connecting words. Some of those are because, so, after that. On the other hand, I want to mention this. What this means is, okay, speaking section is on the lead, okay. Here are some activities that can help you build the skills you need for independent speaking tasks. Most important for these questions is that you need to practice speaking continuously for 45 seconds or more. So it is a good idea to have a stopwatch or other timer to use while practicing. Number one, find a way to practice with native speakers or others who know English well, or join an English club or start one of your own. And number two, collect pictures from magazines, newspapers, or the internet, and look at each picture and describe it in 45 seconds. Try describing the same picture more than once using different adjectives and adding details. Number three, think for 15 seconds about what you did yesterday. Then talk about it for 45 seconds. Remember to use your connecting words and use verbs in the past tense. You can do that, the same thing to talk about what you will do tomorrow using verbs in the future tense. And four, practice making a recommendation. Find a topic that you are interested in and explain why your idea is the best way to proceed. So this is the first one. Remember, the most important thing here is that you have 15 seconds to prepare your answer and 45 seconds to speak. Then we have question number two. Remember that we have three integrated questions. Let's know question number two, sorry. This is the integrated speaking number one in the three that are for the integrated, okay? First of all, remember that integrated tasks require test takers to respond to questions about particular reading or listening material. Sometimes the reading and listening materials present the same point of view, and sometimes they present different views on a topic. This question number two is the fit and explain task. The Fit and Explain task is a campus-based integrated question in which test takers read a paragraph, listen to a conversation about the reading, and discuss what they read and heard. It consists of two sources and a single question: a reading passage, about 100 words that present the campus-related issue; a listening passage, 90 seconds, in which speakers express their opinion about the reading; and a question that asks the test taker to summarize the speaker opinion within the context of the reading passage. That is the question: to summarize the speaker's opinion within the context of the reading passage. This question assesses the test taker's ability to combine and analyze the information from the written and spoken sources, assesses the test taker's ability to synthesize or integrate the information from both the written and spoken sources in meaningful, coherent response. And the preparation time for this kind of question is 30 seconds to prepare, and the response time 60 seconds. So you have 1 minute to respond this question. 30 seconds to prepare your answer and 60 seconds to respond it. Now here are some tips for how to approach this kind of speaking questions. Number 1, be careful not to speak too quickly, because this might make it difficult for the reader to understand you. The questions are designed so that if you speak at a normal pace, you will have enough time to give a complete response. You will get better at this if you time yourself when you practice. Use a timer and practice with it, okay? And number 2, in question 2, where you have the reading passage, then the conversation between two speakers. So listen carefully to the speaker's reasons for agreeing or disagreeing with points made in the reading. Then make sure you summarize the opinion of the speaker in your answer. Okay, so let's see. Here we have skill building tips. Now here are some activities that can help you build your skills for the integrated speak task. 1, find an outline newspaper from an English-speaking university. This would be a good source of practice topics for question 2. Look for topics like admissions, housing, student activities, register for classes, school improvement plans, sports, and more. Then choose an article to discuss with your speaking partner or study group. 2, record yourself when you practice and listen to how you speak. When you listen to yourself, you will be able to hear some of your mistakes as well as your tone and pacing. 3, find listening and reading material that are both about the same topic. The material can contain similar or different views. Then prepare an outline of a 1-minute response that includes your opinion, 2 points to support your opinion, and 1 detail or reason to support each point. And 4, practice improving your fluency. Take that 1-minute presentation and deliver it a few times. And each time, try to improve it a little bit. Smooth out your phrasing and use different wording for the same ideas. Avoid unnecessary pauses. Use transition words, those kind of things, okay? Then we have questions number 3 and number 4. In question number 3, you will read a passage about an academic subject. Then you will listen to part of a lecture on that same subject, and you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 to speak your answer. For this type of question, the reading passage will always be about an important academic term or concept that might be found in first-year college textbook. For example, a science reading might explain what a keystone species is. A reading from psychology might describe what it means by emotional intelligence, for example. And the listening passage will be from part of a lecture about the same topic as the reading passage. This question, number 3, is general to a specific question. Consists of 2 sources in a single question. A reading passage, 100 words, that gives background information about an academic topic. A listening passage, 90 seconds, that provides further information about the topic. And a question that asks the test taker to combine and convey important information from the reading and the lecture. Remember, the first integrated question was reading and conversation. The second, that is general specific, is a reading passage and a lecture. Assesses the test taker ability to combine and analyze the information from the written and spoken sources. Assesses the test taker ability to synthesize or integrate and express academic information from both reading and spoken sources. And the preparation time is 30 seconds and the response time is 60 seconds. In question 4, you will listen to part of a lecture. Then you will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak your answer, which will always be a summary of the lecture. So now let's look more closely at what these academic questions look like, okay? Consists of one listening passage and a single question. So here you don't have to read, just is a listening, okay? A listening passage that is an excerpt from a lecture, 2 minutes, and that explains a term or concept and provides examples to illustrate that term or concept. A question that asks the test taker to summarize the lecture, demonstrating understanding of its structure and relationship between the examples and the overall topic, and assesses the test taker ability to understand and convey key information from an academic lecture. The preparation time, 20 seconds. The response time, 60 seconds. Now here are some tips for how to approach this kind of speaking questions. Number 1, the topic for these questions can be from a variety of fields: life science, social science, physical science, history, art, literature. And although it is important that you practice with academic texts, the questions are designed so that you don't need any prior knowledge in a specific field to answer these questions. In other words, even though a question is about an academic topic, it's not testing your knowledge on the topic, it's testing your English. Number 2, you are allowed to take notes during the test. So during the listening passage, write down few keywords or ideas on your scratch paper, then use the preparation time to review your notes and prepare your responses. Number 3, If you finish your response before time runs out, don't just repeat yourself to fill the remaining time. Say something that clarifies, develops, or elaborates on your response. Practice timing yourself so that you get used to the amount of time you have to answer the questions. And here we have the skill building tips. Develop your academic vocabulary. Keep a list of new words and practice pronouncing them. Read an article and record a summary. Transcribe the recording and think of other ways to say the same thing. Find textbooks in English that include each question. Practice answering the questions out aloud. Collect recordings of yourself in an audio journal and ask your English teacher to evaluate the recordings. So now that we know the 4 questions for the speaking session, we are going to see how they score our responses. Now I'm going to send you the rubrics for you to have. Just a moment, please. Okay, now you have the rubrics, the ones that I have here. So now we will talk about the responses to the speaking tasks and how they are scored. Please see the scoring rubric cards to understand the independent speaking rubric and the integrated speaking rubric. A rubric is a scoring guideline with descriptors. It describes performance at different levels of proficiency. For these rubrics, you will see that there is a general description, followed by 3 scoring dimensions: delivery, language use, and topic development. These are holistic rubrics, which means that the level of performance is determined by assessing performance across multiple criteria as a whole. This is in contrast to an analytic rubric which articulates levels of performance for each criterion. The general description is the holistic description of 4 score level or bands. For example, for topic development, raters look at whether the test taker has addressed the task, whether they have demonstrating an understanding of the material and made appropriate connections between the content and conveying relevant information. For delivery, raters consider whether the response is clear and fluid and whether the delivery is sustained throughout the response for the overall intelligibility. Lastly, they consider language use, which includes both range and accuracy of grammar and vocabulary used. You notice that the integrated rubric is similar to the independent rubric, but the descriptors contain relevant content about how well the speaker integrates the information that was heard and read into their responses. So raters are evaluating the question-specific content of the response. So please, I invite you to check the rubric card that I just sent. Okay, let me see. Okay, you are welcome, Sonita. Okay. So you are going to have time because we are going to work with this. We are going to practice with these rubrics, okay? And also, it's important for you to know that the speaking responses are scored by both, by human raters and the ETS automated scoring engine, Speech Radar. This combines the benefits of human judgment with consistency of automated scoring. Speech primarily measures features described in the speaking rubrics under language use and delivery. It is important to note that high scoring response may contain occasionally errors and minor lapses in any of the areas described below. What is being evaluated is the overall understanding of the response. So now we are going to listen to some benchmark responses. Do you know what a benchmark means? The definition of benchmark is a point of reference from which measurements may be made. So the benchmarks for raters provide a point of reference for making their rating decisions of speaking responses. There are other responses we will play later today that demonstrate slightly more proficiency or slightly less proficiency that would be rated in the same score band. Raters are required to listen to benchmark responses before the beginning of every scoring session and every time they move to a new item or task. So they recalibrate each time they score. Benchmarks are also available to raters to listen to at any point during the scoring session. But now we are going to know here an independent speaking task, just like in the real TOEFL IBT test. So this is the page choice, independent page choice, and we are going to listen this, okay, this question. Remember, you have 15 seconds to prepare your answer, in 45 seconds to speak. Let's see, let's listen. Yes. Let's share with some. Okay, now.
Some universities require first-year students to live in dormitories on campus. Others allow students to live off campus. Which policy do you think is better for first-year students and why? Include details and examples in your explanation.
So this is the question, and here we have some candidates that real test takers of our test, and they were rated in this way. For example, let's listen number 1. Who got 1 point or level 1?
I think the dormitories the students lives in dormitories very close to each other, students, so they familiar to each other, so proceed students relationship and communication, so very familiar. Cause good job for students.
Okay, so let's listen one candidate that got 2.
The policy of students to live in dormitories on campus is better according to me because it gives them time to know about the city, and it is more easy for them to live in dormitories on campus. They don't face much problems Moreover, it gives them times to find
Okay, let's see who got 3.
I think the better policy is to make student live in the dorm, because the first year student live in the dorm, because I think it's safer first, because most of them come from other town, so they don't really know their environment, so I think it's safer. Moreover, I think they can make friends in the dorm, so they can have good relationship to know how the universities is going. I mean, they know better the environment, especially if they don't have cars.
And this one got a good score, 4. So let's listen.
I think it's better for the first year students to live on campus rather than off campus. Main reason because they are new to the city and it's safer for them to live on campus where there's more security, because they don't know much about the city in the first place. Second of all, it helps them to become more familiar with their surroundings where they have to study. It also helps them to meet new people. Living in a dorm encourages friendships with people who you might not seem very comfortable with the first time, and it helps you meet new people. It helps you to interact with your seniors, if any, living in your dorm.
Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to score these test takers. I have test taker 1, test taker 2, test taker 3, and test taker 4. I need that you read your rubrics. And according to the rubrics, I need that you give a score for each one of them, okay? So we are going to start with test taker number 1. Okay.
It's better if at the first year the students live in dormitories and on campus.
Okay, so are you ready? What we are going to do is listen to test taker number 1, and you are going to tell me if this candidate deserves 1, 2, 3, 4, but you have to support it with reasons, okay? You have to say, for example, it is because of this, okay? Let's see, let's start.
It's better if at the first year the students live in dormitories and on campus, because it's very difficult, the kind of adaptation they have to suffer, because it's the first year and their first experience and the place, so they need help to recognize the location. They need time to live all those aspects of the new school, to have more friends, and because the first year is the more difficult because of adaptation, they need to be more closely relations.
Okay, so let's see. What's the score? If you want, you can write on the chat box the score for this candidate or test taker number 1. Okay, or maybe you can write at the end. But if you have a score 1, 2, 3, or 4 for this test taker, you can write, okay? Let's see, test taker number 2.
I think the first year students should live on campus. That is because in the first year of
especially the first semester, they will have a heavy load of subjects they have to follow, and that means that they have to be able to be on time in campus. And also, the first year of campus life needs them to be familiarized with buildings, with the surroundings, with the environment of the campus itself. So more times in campus will help them to do that. And also, you have to have lots of friends to be able to make yourself at home in the campus. At least this is the home for you for the next 4 years. So it's important to socialize.
Okay. And then we have test taker number 3.
Most of students live off campus, but like me, is to need to require to live in dormitories. Example: a theologian and like this, especially lives in dormitories on campus. They can each with pray and sing and worship, and relationship is very.
I think
Now we are going to listen the last one.
living in dormitories is better for first-year students because in the first year, students may have troubles in doing and studying and living in schools, and they don't have many friends in school. So if they live in dormitory, they could make many friends living in dormitory, and it will be helpful for
If you have the answers, if you have, I score for test taker number 1, I score for test taker number 2, I score for test taker number 3, and I score for test taker number 4, just write on the chat box and we are going to see. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, okay? Test taker number 1 has 3. The speaker's delivery is really good. She's at mostly consistent pace, while interference from the speaker's first lang speech, mispronunciations only occasionally interfere with the listener ability. The speaker grammatical range is good, while not sophisticated is appropriate too, but there are some evident errors. Test taker number 2 is 4. The speaker has a good speaking. Her speech is clear with few pronunciation errors. She is able to use intonation effectively to convey meaning. So in the test taker number 3 has 1. The response is very limited in content and coherence. And test taker number 4, it got 2, although her pronunciation is generally clear. This candidate has difficult time choosing words and forming sentences. So that is the way how they evaluate with the table and with in the rubrics, okay? The last part that you know that is the integrated speaking tasks. I have an example for the first question in the integrated task, which is fit and explain question. Here, you know that it consists, you have to remember that it consists of a reading and a listening. And then you have to speak about about the campus situation. Consists of a short reading, a conversation, and a single question. So the test taker reads one paragraph, often a proposal or an announcement from a campus source such as newspaper, website, email. The test taker hears the conversation between two students about the reading, and one will state his or her opinion. So this is important for you to remember because I already explained. The test taker is asked to briefly summarize the reading and to state the student's opinion and reasons for that opinion. Note taking is allowed, so it is very important to take notes in order to answer this kind of questions. The preparation time is 30 seconds and the response time is 60 seconds. Here is the question, okay? Listen, this is an example.
City University's choir is changing its performance schedule next year. Read an article about it in the student newspaper. You will have 50 seconds to read the article. Begin reading now.
So now,
City University's choir.
So then you have 50 seconds by clock, okay, to read the reading, okay? And then you are going to listen.
Now, listen to two students discussing the article.
So here, in the first one, you have to read for 50 seconds. In the second one, you have to listen to the conversation and pay attention, special attention to the student's opinion, okay?
Jim, you're in the choir, right? What do you think about what they're doing next year? This article.
I really like it.
Yeah?
Yeah, the new director's right that it will motivate us.
How's that?
Well, some of the other schools are really good, so we'll really have to work hard to go up against them.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we don't rehearse more than once a week, but if we know we'd be competing with other schools, we'd probably rehearse more often and improve our singing a lot.
That's true. The more you practice, the better you get. So, what about what the article said about how this will help the program?
I hope it works. Right now, our program is pretty small, but we have some really talented people, and it would be great to attract even more people.
So, how will this plan help?
Well, if we go to these off-campus events and other people hear us and think we're really good, we might be able to get some new students interested in coming to this university, to be a part of our music program and perform in our choir concerts.
You're right. I hadn't really thought about that.
Okay. Then we have the question.
The man expresses his opinion about the change described in the article. Briefly summarize the change, then state his opinion about the change and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion.
Then, what is the most important? Why I am showing you this? First, we have the reading, then we have the listening, and then we have the question. Because you need to take from both, from the reading and from the listening, the most important points to speak. So here we have 3 points. What happened? The man agrees with the plan. He agrees. So you are going to take the information from the reading and from the listening, from the conversation, and then you are going to answer the question. So here, to finish my speaking workshop, I'm going to show you 2 examples of speaking of this kind of question.
Actually, the student liked that program. First of all, his opinion was in the other school, maybe it's good, and you can work to improve singing a lot. And additionally, a program he was talk about his program. It was small, but if you go to campus and to singing and other students heard that, they will enjoy to come to this university. That's the another things. In my opinion, I agree with this student uh, that's improving singing a lot in his university, and the program is
Okay, according to the rubrics and according to ETS, this test taker just got 2 points. And here we have one test taker that has a better speaking and got 4 points.
There's a change in the organization of the choir schedule. The choir so far hosted only singing concerts on campus only, but from next year there will be competitive events held in other locations. Jim, a member of the choir, likes that. There are a few reasons for that. First of all, he thinks that by engaging in competitive events, they will get more rehearsals and will improve their singing in a better way than they've been doing so far. And it will also help their choir program because although there are some people who have talent, the choir itself and the program is small. But if they go around on different competitions, other people might see how good their choir is and might wish to join the choir. That way the size of the choir will improve, and that is generally a good thing. And those are the reasons why Jim, a member of the choir, likes the changes.
So he got 4 points because he had a good speaking. And don't forget, please, that for the integrated ones, you need to take notes from the reading, and then you have to take notes from the listening. And this, you have to have the key points from both to have the argument for your speaking. And
there's a change in the organization.
Thank you very much. So this is all about the speaking section. And I hope it helps you in some way to be prepared for to prepare for the TOEFL IBT test. If you have any question, I can ask any question. Okay, if not, that's all about reading and about the speaking. I would like that you attend to next seminar, because we are going to have my colleague Carla Montes de Oca, and she is going to talk about the listening and the speaking sections for TOEFL IBT. Let me see in the chat someone. Okay. Thank you, Maria Luz. God bless you too. Thank you, Arsenio. Thank you very much for your kind words. Thank you, Andres, for your invitation, and we hope it helps all teachers in Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, to prepare for the TOEFL IBT.
Thank you so much, Inesita. Thank you so much, dear partners. Today, as I mentioned at the beginning, we had a TOEFL IBT presentation with building skills, now building speaking and also reading and speaking. Now, so I hope you find it very interesting. And I'm not sure, Ines, if they are interested in that exam. They can follow you, they can ask you directly. Okay, you are.
Yes. I'm going to write my email address, so I'm going to show you in the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, itorres@etsglobal.org, and my colleague Carla Montes de Oca. Okay, Carlita, can you write your email address for them to contact you? Okay, we are ready to answer any question to help you. If you are interested in taking the TOEFL test, if you are interested in prepare your students, if you are interested in your high school prepare for TOEFL, in your colleagues, we are ready to help you.
Yeah, teacher. So now you will hear that Ines is writing her email in in case you need to know more information about the TOEFL IBT. The next webinar, the next Sunday, we will have the presence of Carla, no? Carlita, she's going to be here.
Yes. Yeah, she is here also. Maybe she can speak some words, Carlita. She is going to be here next Sunday, and she is going to present about listening and writing sections for the TOEFL IBT, building skills for listening.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good
Thank you,
afternoon.
Andres, for the kind invitation. I hope to see you next weekend. I think it's at the same rate. Is that correct? At 10? Or is it at 11?
We normally do it at 10 a.m. But today I don't know what happened with the schedule, but we organized it 11. But if there's no problem for you, we can reschedule to 10. Is it okay?
It's perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I guess I will see you all. Hope to see you all next Sunday at 10. Thank you, Andres, for the invitation. Thank you, Inesita, for the wonderful presentation, and I hope to see you soon.
Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you, Andres. Thank you, everybody. Have a very nice Sunday.
Have a very nice Sunday. Thanks for coming. And thanks, Ines, for your honorable presentation here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Sunday. Have a nice day, my dear friends, okay? Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.